Hello everyone, this is Plankera, and welcome to my universe. Today, I'm going to continue rigging Shalom from Path to Nowhere. So yesterday, I intended to do a bunch of stuff on the upper right, but I ended up doing stuff on the left. That's okay. I'm gonna go back to doing some stuff on the left, and we'll see if I decide to distract myself by doing stuff on the upper right. Who knows at this point? Just kind of go in whatever order works. So right now I kind of want to get her to the point where she can bob her head up and down a lot, because that makes it nice and easy for me to spot mistakes. Because when I can go from all the way to the bottom to all the way to the top, with everything looking seamless like it should, then I know that I'm doing something right. So I'm just going to start kind of starting from the center and radiating out to the sides. And the first thing that I noticed when I looked at all of this morning was that that little dark spot in her front bang there was sticking out just a little bit more than it should have at the bottom. And actually not quite enough at the top. So I think to an extent I'm actually going to edit these two corners together. Because, I don't know, just seeing how much easier it was to spot things when I could slide her head all the way from top to bottom or all the way from far left to far right, that it just made things so much more straightforward. I think that's another good thing to keep in mind for whatever model that I decide to do next. Just all these little workflow things that'll probably make my life easier in the long run. Alright, that's definitely looking better for that strand there. So it's kind of amazing to me just how much of a difference such small tweaks can make, because I did not move it very much, and yet it looks so much better now. So my husband and I were playing Factorio this morning, and we're trying to go for the speedrun achievement of getting to the solar system's edge within 40 hours. We're about halfway through. I think that we're on pace for what we wanted to do. And we're just going to Gleba for the first time in this run. And we both have forgotten how much we hate Gleba. Ever doing anything on Gleba is just so inconvenient. So we landed there today and just burned through pretty much all of our supplies at this point, and we still don't have iron and copper automated there because it's such a pain. It takes a little while to get it all up and running, and you have to build a lot of things, and we're gonna be sending the ship that brought us there home for more iron. Just so it'll be a bit easier to build. for those unfamiliar with Factorio, Gleba is supposed to be like the planet. So you do everything with plants. Like on the main planet, the way you get iron and copper is you build mines, more or less. So you just put down mines where there's the minerals, they dig it up, and then you're able to go and smelt it into whatever you need it to be. But here you don't get it from the ground, you get it from bacteria. And bacteria can die. Happens quite often. I remember in our first run of this game, just to get a feel for what everything was like. We ran through it and oh man, did our bacteria die so often. But furthermore, before you even have to worry about the bacteria dying, you have to worry about cultivating them, and then... yeah, so cultivating them basically means feeding them, and making it so that this way they can populate and multiply and all those other things that biological creatures want to do. So that this way, there's enough of them so that when they do die, because you do need them to die, because that's what gets you the iron and copper, the death of the bacteria, not the life of the bacteria, that you'll have more, that they will have made enough babies that you can keep going, and then when their babies die, you'll get more iron and copper. So you gotta keep this life cycle going, and it's surprisingly delicate. Maybe not surprisingly, but it is definitely delicate. And so everything just turns into a mess. And then with Gleba, besides having to feed everything, because you need nutrients to do anything at all on that planet, everything can, like, go bad. Like, you harvest a bunch of fruit, well, you better use it within the certain time frame, or it's just going to rot, and you can't use it anymore. So you have to prepare for that. You can't just get a whole ton of everything, dump it somewhere, and then grab it when you need it. You have to harvest things as you need them, and it's an interesting design challenge, but man is it a pain. I actually do like a lot of the mechanics on Gleba in theory. It's just, in practice, when you compare it to what the other planets do, like they get you a lot of the same resources and whatnot, except easier and better. It makes working with Gleba kind of a pain. But in order to actually finish the game, you do have to get certain things on each planet. Each planet has its own, I guess, item that you use to research things for your tech tree. So even though you do have to go there, it doesn't get you much else besides the tech. Getting resources for everything else is easier pretty much anywhere. And I think it's a little bit of a shame, because in several ways Gleba is really cool, but it's just so inconvenient and so hard to get things started. But I bring up this point because I think it's an interesting point for designing games, in that balancing the rewards with how difficult it is to do something is very, very important. Because part of what makes Gleba feel kind of bad is that you don't really get anything very special for it. You just kind of go in, get the one thing or the couple of things that's unique to that planet, and get out as soon as possible, and then try not to look at it again. Try to forget that you ever went there. Whereas some of the other ones, I remember in our first run, with just how easy it was to get stuff around on one of the other planets. We actually started making a whole bunch of signs that could be made on any planet on that planet, just because it was so easy to do. And then another one, there's a mechanic in this game that whenever you craft something, there's a chance that it'll be crafted at higher quality. And because Factorio is about making an automated factory, it's not you crafting it, it's your machines crafting it. And if you want to start farming quality machines and components for machines, you need to have a way for your factory to handle that. And what the other planet, Fulgora, was really, really good for that. Just just because of how it worked, without going into too much detail there. So that was something that it could do really well. And the other one, just really easy transport of materials, really easy to just pull things out of nothing. You were unlikely to run out of your basic materials. And securing new ones was really, really easy, especially once you got your hands on a railgun. So it was just easier to do a lot of things there, and Gleba just didn't have any of this, anything that it was uniquely suited for. It just had an interesting kind of engineering challenge, but once you solved it, you didn't get anything for it, and it made it feel kind of bad. And I just think that is very important when designing things for games. It actually is okay to make things kind of inconvenient. The human brain is kind of funny like that, because what makes games really enjoyable, at least a lot of certain types of games, is not actually getting the thing that you want. It's the struggle. It's the denial of the thing that you want, and then working towards it and figuring out how to get it. And then finally winning in the end, and subconsciously knowing that the game is designed to be beaten. So as long as you keep trying, as long as you just work hard enough at it, eventually there will be a victory. Which is not always how real life works, so that's part of the reason it's nice in video games. But I do think it's important that for a lot of games, it's not the reward, it's actually the denial of the reward, and then finally triumphing in the end, that makes the game fun. This is particularly true when you look at, like, FromSoft games. This is pretty much the entire game loop for how people describe it. Of just, man, this boss is really hard, but I eventually figure it out, and then once I finally beat him, it was like, oh yeah! I did the thing! Heck yeah! And that's what makes it feel good. So, back to Factorio. I don't think a lot of Gleba's mechanics are necessarily bad. I think it's okay for it to be a little bit hard, and a little bit more inconvenient to do stuff with it than it is on a lot of the other planets. The problem is that there's no real reason to. And so once you solve it, you get that little brief moment of dopamine of, okay, cool, I did the thing. Why, though? And so the reward at the end just doesn't feel good enough to justify the effort, and I think that's a little bit of a shame. So back to rigging. I've been, once again, trying to perfect this strand here. I swear every time I look at it, I just see something about it that's a little bit off, and I always want to go back and fix it. But I do feel like it gets a little bit better every day that I just notice something slightly off about it, so hopefully within a few days, I'll just finally have it the way I want. I think I actually talked about this a few days ago, in that one of the things that I miss about about insisting on doing my entire model rigging on stream is that when I was rigging my personal model, you know, Lankara over there, that there would be several times where if I had 5 minutes, I'd just go over, take a look at things, make a few adjustments, and then, you know, probably get interrupted by my kids and have to go do something else for a while. But that was fine. So I'd have 5 minutes where I could just look at it real quick, and then I'd look away for a while again. And so every time I came back to work on it for 5 minutes, I'd have fresh eyes and could look at it nice and closely. But when I'm doing the entire thing on stream, I can't do that. I basically look at it for my solid hour or two, and then I stop and I come back the next day. So I don't get those just brief moments of progress. Very brief moments of progress. And I think that those 5 minutes that I would spend throughout the day just really added up after a while. Because I could go in, I could see something that's just a little bit off, like, you know, the strand here that I keep tweaking every day. And it would just eventually be done. So I do kind of miss that. Not enough to make me want to work on this off stream at all. But I do kind of miss it. Okay. I think strand might be okay for now. I might end up changing things depending on how I changed the side bank here at the very top of it. But for now, I think that's good. I will leave it there. Now then, I can look at some of these places up on the front bank here. Look at this line. It is squirming hard. Look at it go. Does not know what's going on. So, let's get the angle on that right. I talk about the angle of things a lot here. And that's because I think it's one of the key things that... Let me see, how do I explain this? When I take a look on whether or not something is lining up properly and the movement looks convincing, the two areas that I'm probably looking at the most closely are the angle of a particular line or shadow or something, and the distance between 2 points. So like if I look here, this angle, it kind of goes up like this. It has a straight point here, then it curves at a fairly sharp angle here, and then goes not quite straight up, but pretty close. And then I look at the distance between like this point and this point to know roughly how far apart they should be. And you'll notice that it's slightly different over there than it is right here on just the default front, where these are a little bit further apart. But because her head is turning to the left, I push them a little bit closer together, I change the angle slightly and stuff like that. And so I'd say those are the two biggest things when it comes to making the turn convincing. of the distance between 2 points and the angles. That one wasn't so good for demonstrating the angle, but... Still good. That's kind of the basics of what I look for. And then I guess the third thing, which is kind of a combination of the other two things in general, would be perspective. So that's especially true when I look at her eyes. So I want to make them look like they're in perspective, and like this one is kind of receding into the background. Or when I have her head turned over here, you can see that this strand gets a little bit thinner, and actually I think it's more clear on the new right turn here, that these areas get a little bit thinner, so the distance between the 2 points gets a little bit closer, and then these strands here, they just disappear entirely. They just appear to go behind her head. So that would be that kind of perspective. So what I'm adjusting over on the front bangs here is a bunch of little things just related to the angle on how things are, and I guess relative thickness between certain points, but you know, the two things that I said that I generally look for. But when I was having her head go back and forth, I just felt like there was a couple of points up here that were sliding upward and were not, like, thick enough. And I actually don't think that the angle of a lot of things at the bottom here is quite right. It's okay, that's where the being able to just go up and down all the way is really useful. Because man, does it make it easier to see. Yeah, I can see that there's still... Like, if you look at this little shadow right here, just watch it, have no idea what's going on. See, as things get closer and closer to the end, it's less about a lot of those big things that I was looking at early when I was doing the head turns and finally put her hair on. Now it's just a bunch of little, small, fiddly things. And it takes a little while to go through. Man. The bangs here are just very, very detailed, so I kind of have to take things slow, one step at a time. Here I noticed that this outside part was getting a little bit thick there. I actually think I adjusted that yesterday. But I don't think I did it right. It's okay, this is why it's important to sleep on the things that you work on. And why whenever I finish a picture, unless it's just a speed paint, that I always sleep on it for a day. And take a look at it in the morning with fresh eyes and do whatever slight adjustments that I want. It's generally not anything big, but if I can just pick out a few things that I think could be a little bit better, then that'll just make the picture even better. And I think it's very much worth. Hold on, so my nose is just extremely itchy for some reason. Cannot get it to stop being itchy. I feel like that's been happening a lot lately and I have no idea why. It's bizarre. It's like if it was just the outside of my nose, I'd think that, you know, maybe it's just some dry skin and maybe I should get some lotion or something. But it's like the inside of my nostril. And it feels very strange. Just a little tickle in my nose that never wants to go away. And I do not understand. Let's see. Here, I was noticing that there was a small bump on the shadows of the bangs there, and I'm trying to put it back. So I'm actually going to consult the mesh a little bit, just so I know where to put it. Is it? Yeah, right about there. But unfortunately, the mesh did not have any clues for me this time. So I'm just going to use my eyeballs and do my best. Alright, that's looking a little bit better there. Let's see, still a couple of things in the corner here. Something like that. Yeah, I still have some stuff to fix over here, but I think over here is looking alright now. Let's see, how is it looking in the up? Still a little bit stretchy in the up. Oh my goodness, yep, that's a little bit stretchy. So I think that this shows the importance of angles, because a lot of angles are pretty off here. So, when it comes to distance between 2 points, watch like here and here. You'll see that they get... the distance gets a little bit warped. So this part here gets a little bit longer, and this part here gets a little bit... it's like thicker. But most importantly, I think what really gets messed up here is you can see that this angle kind of goes like this. It's not quite a 45-degree angle. I'd rate it probably half that, like 22 or something. But up here, it gets much straighter. But more importantly, if you watch this white area, see how the purple here is actually thicker and it kind of curves this white area upward? Here, it's like perfectly straight. And that's not right. So those are the kind of small details I'm looking for at this stage. Said, I'm going in, man. Going in on that final stretch. I'd like to say I'll finish soon, but all of my predictions on when I might finish these head turns has been so far off that I don't even want to try to guess right now. I just keep seeing things, and I keep looking at not tutorials, but showcases and VTubers and stuff on the internet, and just saying, oh, I just see these things that look so cool, and I'm like, okay, I want to do that. And then I get ideas, and I learn some things, and I kind of want to try it, and it makes things take a little bit longer. I have accepted that this is just kind of the way things are going to be. I don't think I'm going to do very much with the body, though. So I think once I finish the head turns and do everything to make the head look nice, I'll probably just do a little bit of body movement to make things look a little bit less stiff, and call it good. I might not do a bunch of the various toggles and stuff that I was planning on. I might not even do a coat toggle. We'll see. I don't know yet. My daughter was kind of cute yesterday. Unfortunately, she seems to be getting a little bit sick, which is always sad. But I had just come home from a walk when she came downstairs, and she was feeling a little bit hot, and she pushed her cheek up against my cheek, and said that it was cool and felt good. And I just thought that was kind of adorable. Because it was really cold outside, so my cheeks were indeed a little bit cold. But she just liked the way it felt. And I guess, speaking of adorable things from tiny humans, I always do like watching them be able to develop and understand certain things around them. There's a corner in my house, behind this indoor jungle gym that we have, that they like to play in. And it's kind of a pain for an adult to squeeze through there. So whenever they play there, I don't really like to go with them. I am too big. Tiny humans only. Okay. Autosave threw me off for a second there. But yes. Tiny humans only. And, he was claiming that he was in jail and wanted me to help him get out. And because I didn't really want to go back there, I just pantomimed a rope. Like I was throwing a lasso or something, or throwing a rope to him, and said that that's what I was doing, and he thought for a second, then understood, and acted like he was grabbing the rope, and then I continued to just kind of pantomime pulling him out, and he really liked that. So I got to make him happy while avoiding going to the cramped corner. It was very nice. Very nice indeed. The fact that he was able to understand that even though there was no rope involved, it was just the air and hand motions. And he was able to understand it, and I thought that was pretty cool. I'm not sure if he would have been able to understand that last year. So I always greatly enjoy watching them grow. And I feel like little kids really do just grow so fast. I know saying that kids grow up so fast is, such an old person meme. But it's true, especially when they're this little. I always get taken by surprise by how much new mischief they can get themselves into. Alright, I think things are starting to look pretty good there. Worked out most of the issues, at least in this side of the bang there. I still need to get where it divides here and then start getting back over into the other side. But there we go. There's one side that I think is looking pretty okay. I haven't started sliding it across the bottom or across the top to check it horizontally, but at least vertically, I think it's pretty okay. Maybe I should do that. That seems like a good idea. Let's do that after I adjust the length of this darker line here. After I check it vertically one more time, just to make sure that I have that shape right. As you can see, it has kind of an interesting angle on it. It goes in and then changes direction. Though that might not actually be correct. Yeah, that's not correct, is it? Okay, I should fix that then. Maybe I should check things horizontally here first. I have been, but that was for a lot of other things. This is not for, like, extreme detail in the bangs that I was looking for. That's actually another interesting point about the nature of the human mind, in that we only have so much attention to give at once, and the brain is actually really, really bad at multitasking. That's why occasionally you'll get comments from me of, "Wait, was that always like that? Did I really leave it like that? Oops." But, that is just a limitation of the brains we have. There was a study done where people were asked to count the number of times a group of people passed a basketball to each other. And in the middle of the video that they were watching, of people passing a basketball between each other, a person in a gorilla suit came out and started kind of dancing around, waved at the camera, did all these things. And less than half of the people that watched the video noticed anything strange. So, like, they were just asked the question, did you notice anything strange during the video? And more than half the people said no. Despite the dancing gorilla. Or the person dancing in a gorilla suit, more accurately. And that's because their attention was focused very much on counting basketball passes. So I thought that was an interesting little experiment. And does indeed go to show some of the limitations of our brain. Also made me a bit more forgiving of myself when I pause a lot while talking. Because trying to talk, come up with stuff to say, and actually rig things at the same time, much harder than it seems. Requires, like, all of my focus, and that's why I'm, like, super tired at the end of stream. Even though I generally only go for about an hour. Maybe 2, if I'm feeling really energetic that day. Brain's got a lot going on during these streams. Honestly, at some point, I just want to read a random archive of research studies. Just go through and read them and find some of the more interesting conclusions. Read the methodology, see how they decided to try to test for this. I actually think checking the methodology for these things is pretty important before I start talking about them, because there's research out there that basically only exists to validate a specific perspective. Just reminds me of those commercials that tell you, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend this brand of toothpaste. And a lot of that is junk methodology. Or basically it only existed so that this way they could make that statistic. I'm not actually sure how they calculate that for toothpaste. For whatever reason, it was just what came to mind first. But when I actually think of a study that I know of that was conducted for this purpose and was probably, or pretty much certainly, not very good. It was something about breakfast in, I believe it was like the 1950s or 60s, where they were talking about whether it was good to eat a light breakfast or a heavy breakfast. And unsurprisingly, there was a lot of science that said that, one was, or how should I phrase this? Basically, the cereal companies and the bacon companies tried to get a lot of fake science done to validate that their product was better. And so there were lots of studies that said that both sides were wrong and both sides were right, basically, depending on who paid for them. And so that's why, whenever you see these statistics on the internet, you gotta be careful. Because people do that, and it's really gross. Complete misappropriation of the scientific method. And by the way, for people wondering whether it's actually better to have a heavy breakfast or a light breakfast, it doesn't really matter. It depends on, what feels good for you and whether or not you're getting the nutrition that you need throughout the day. In general, a heavier one will probably give you more upfront energy. But for the most part, it doesn't really matter that much. At least that is my understanding. I am not a dietitian. Once again, please do not trust the words of an anime girl on the internet willy-nilly. But that is my understanding. And this is barring if you have any specific dietary needs or certain things. Like, I learned from an early age that I don't tend to do very well with fruit in the morning. For whatever reason. But I can eat, like, meats or carbs or anything like that just fine. Just don't give me fruit. And yet, fruit is fairly popular to put on a lot of breakfast-related foods. So it's clear not all people have this problem. So you just gotta do what feels right for you. And then make sure that you get whatever nutrition you need throughout all the meals you eat in a day. That's what really matters. Okay. I was just trying to fix some things vertically and I got distracted again. That's okay. Gotta keep working on things over here and then I'm gonna go check things horizontally again. But I want to make sure that this left side that I've been working on is the way I want it to be before I start worrying about horizontal directions. Because if it's off, that's going to be awkward. I want everything to be lining up nicely first. And right now, I still feel like things here are a little bit stretchy feeling. Like I'm taking her hair and stretching it out. Holding the bottom while her head goes up and it keeps going up. Alright, yeah, that's much better. Alright, let's check that area horizontally. I still have a bunch of stuff I want to do in, like, this half of it, or maybe 2/3, but that's okay. I kind of want to check everything else here. Yeah, thought something like that might happen. Okay. When I say I thought something like that might happen, I kind of had a feeling that the line here was not quite in the right place. Call it a hunch. But when I was moving it over here, I was like, I kind of feel like I'm moving it too high. So we'll see how it lines up over here. Right now, I think the line is also just a little bit too high. So I kind of want to fix it in that area. On this downward turn before I start lining it up properly with the lower left. Alright. Still feel like it's going down a little bit too low. This is one of those things where I'm just paying very careful attention to the distance between 2 points. So I'm just trying to make sure that dark spot at the edge of the bank here is the length that I think it should be. Right now it is not. And now I'm worried that I'm spreading out some vertices too much. That's alright, I'll figure it out. Just gonna do one thing at a time here. I'm gonna focus on getting that dark line here that I'm looking at in the right place. I don't think I've ever looked too deeply at that dark line, even though I feel like I should have. It is the big separator between the front bang and the side bang here, so I think its location is actually pretty important. Surprised I ignored it for this long. Alright, I think it's getting pretty close. It's definitely looking better. Now that I have a lot of that line in the right place. Just need to kinda floof a couple of parts out a little bit. Make some stuff right through here just a tad rounder. As always, try to pull out those optimal levels of floof. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's try to line things up here. Oh. Oh-ho. It actually lines up better than I thought it would. What about over here? Yeah, over here it's a bit too low. Follows kinda where I had it before. Okay. So let's get the shadow right on this side. And then I'll worry about getting it right on the left side. While I continue to curse how silly English is, with right meaning both the direction and correct. It's very confusing in situations like this. Okay, yeah, not bad. So let's just adjust things slightly here, and if I have to adjust how things are vertically to compensate for that, I will. So this time I actually want to pull it down just a little bit. Like I said before, I was actually kind of surprised by how far I needed to pull this up in order to get it to line up with the left turn there. So I was not at all surprised now that I need to push it a little bit down in order to get it to line up with the bottom. Not too far though, it was actually much closer than I initially thought it was, so I just must have pulled it way too far down when I initially rigged this. Ooh. Okay, looking good. Yeah, looking good. I like it. Okay, let's do the same thing for up here. Yeah, and I can see it's much lower up here than it is up here. So let's see how it is here. Do I like the way it is? Right there. Actually, while I'm here, let me check the strands over here too. We're just gonna dance around all the turns, I guess. Actually, I do think that might be a good way to handle it, so I'd like to try it the next couple of days. Just bouncing around every direction and really moving her head around. I might even... Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. We're just gonna hide her head and the back hair. And how about her eyes, too? I might need those to really adjust the length of the hair, though, so okay, we'll keep her face. I will hide the neck, though. Just hide her entire body. We're gonna go full floating face here. Yeah, that makes it nice and easy to see how the tips of the bangs should work. Oh, okay. So we're just gonna have her like this for a few days until I figure out the tips of her bangs, and once I am really confident in her the front bang there, I will let her have her face back. Or I guess I should say, we'll let her have her flesh back. Right now she doesn't need it. It's fine. Okay, yeah, I think that's a bit better. Now I'll just go back to that dark line that I was talking about before. After the autosave lets me. Because here I feel like it's a little bit low. Also, not floofed out enough on the side. Wrong place and not floofy enough. For shame, right? It's okay. That's why I'm here to fix it. Okay, that's looking better. Let's see how it looks over here now. Oh, it actually lines up perfectly. And I'll definitely need to fix the upper right. But this actually lines up quite well. I'm pleased. Okay. Let's get it the correct length up here in the upper right as well. I have to stop myself from saying right because it keeps bothering me. It keeps bothering me that it means too many things. Oh, I actually pushed it a little bit too far up. Okay. Oh, well, go ahead and bring that back down then. And let's see, I think I'm going to go ahead and adjust this line and the leftmost part of the bang that's there. And then I think I'll finish up for today. Haven't been looking too closely at the leftmost part of the bangs here, just because I've been looking at the line. But I'll take a moment to do that real quick, just to make sure everything's lining up well. That everything's the way that I want it to be. And then I'll go ahead and finish up for today. Front bangs are always a little bit of a slow and time-consuming process. Things tend to speed up a little bit as I get a little closer to the back of her head. So even though it doesn't feel like a lot, I actually feel like I did quite a bit today. The front bangs are just very, very detailed. And there's a lot going on. I mean, just look at the level of detail here compared to something like up here even. Like, up here is pretty detailed, but it's got nothing on right there. At least I hope I'll be able to get the left side of the bangs there looking good. Because, man, there's always so much to do, and I'm always so surprised at how much I end up having to look at. Always takes me by surprise. It's like, it's just a small area. I'm pretty sure I can, you know, give it 10 minutes and it'll be good, but... Ooh. There's a lot to look at. Alright. Looks like I have a lot of it looking pretty okay, though. Yeah, with as closely as I look at all these tips and all the details around the front bang area, I'm kind of glad to see that it's all paid off and I don't actually see too many problems. When I was noticing some things on the upper right, I was concerned, but no, it looks like it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I can tell I'm starting to get hungry, though. I always eat right before I have a quick snack, and then I eat a larger meal right after stream, so I do start getting hungry. But I am determined to try to finish off the tips of the bangs here. Or, not all of them, but on this one area that I've been working on. I am determined. So I'm gonna do my best. But if I start feeling like I'm getting sloppy just to finish, then I'll finish it up tomorrow. But right now, I think my brain is still good. I'm just trying to threaten it with, you know, if you're sloppy and lazy, it just means that it'll take longer, and it'll be longer before you get to eat. So quit complaining and do the thing. Just threatening into making it do what I want here. Yeah, a lot of this actually really does look pretty good. I'm pleased. I just always remember going through every turn and spending, oh, sometimes like 2 or 3 days just on the tips of the bangs, and I'm just very glad to see that it's paid off, and most of them look quite good. They're matching up really well, and I don't feel like I'm having to change that much. I think it's part of the reason that I'm able to convince my brain that we can do this before I go eat. I believe in you, brain. You got this. I'd say that I'm a little bit surprised that it's this tip that's giving me so much trouble, but if I'm being honest, no, I don't think it actually is, because that one blends into the skin really, really well, and I don't always insist on turning off the skin while I work on these, so I'm actually not surprised at all that it's the one that's the most off. See, this is why you gotta make sure you can actually see what you're doing when you rig. Otherwise, it's not gonna go the way you want it to go. And some things may be a little bit off when you really look close at it. Being able to hide layers is such a useful thing. So now I can rig these light little strands against a dark background, and I can see perfectly. Get all those little details the way that I want them to be. Just trying to get these last few angles and this dark spot up into place. It's not that far off, but it's a little bit off, and it'll look better like this. Yeah, still a little bit off down here too. It's okay, this is why I'm only doing one little corner. Because it does take a little while to get all that looking good. And now I just want to get I felt like the angle on where it's transitioning from purple into white. The angle here was just a little bit off, but now I think it's better. And once this line is finished, there's only one more. Let's see here. Gonna have to think about this, because this one's... I think this might be floofing a little bit too hard right here. Let me see here. How do I want you to floof? Yeah, just a little bit too hard. I was debating on whether or not I wanted the other angles to be a little bit rounder, but I think it's actually here that just needs to be just slightly flatter. I'll go ahead and line it up with the right turn. Because this was one of the other areas that I wanted to get right on each of the turns here. Just this spot and like the whole just little left area here. I feel like the line is getting a little bit thin down at the bottom here, so I need to separate these vertices a little bit more. Just pull them apart. They just got pushed together a little bit when I was moving things around with the brush tool. No big deal. Easy to fix. Honestly, I probably pulled them apart with the brush tool too. And then, right at the top here, this isn't an area that I've had to worry quite as much with a lot of other angles because it gets covered up by the strand here. But here it's not covered, so I gotta fan this out and smooth out all that out just a little bit there. Give it just the right amount of floof. Alright, and I think that's pretty good for now. Tomorrow, more bangs. But for now, this is where I will end. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I'll see you all tomorrow.